Hello everyone who likes it big, and everyone who is scared of things that are big, and everyone who falls somewhere in between those two extremes. I am BorderWise, and welcome to a new series, or rather, the second season of an old series I did a long time ago. It's Battleship Diary again. So, what has prompted this? Well, two things have prompted this. A big update has just landed, the big fire update. We can set things on fire now, and that's epic. So that's the first thing. The second thing is something that Gmodism has made. Shout out to Gmodism, doing From the Depths content. Very lovely From the Depths content. And Gmodism has made this thing. It is in honor of one of his Patreon supporters. And by the way, support me on Patreon, support him on Patreon, support everyone on Patreon that you possibly can. We're dying here. So this is the Super Davidos, or more specifically, the Army of Gmodism SB Davidos class Super Battleship, and it is super. This thing is just shy of 160,000 blocks. It is 410 meters long, 89 meters wide, and 94 meters tall. She's a big girl, and she is basically just an experiment in delicious cheese, but also genuinely good ship design. And she is an interesting craft. She's bloody big. I think the objective with this thing was to beat something made by one of my Patreon supporters, Azuzu, who is somewhat notorious, for the people who know her, of building absolutely stupidly big ships. We're talking things that are like, I don't know, I forget, it's tens of thousands of blocks, actually hundreds of thousands of blocks, and multiple millions of materials, and PC melting, and is actually, like, pushing the limit of what From the Depths the game can actually do. So, we're not going to build something to build this. It's just, I'm mentioning this, and we are going to be testing against this thing, because why the hell not? It is a big juicy target. Or rather, it's going to make, it's going to really push whatever ship we make to its limits and far beyond it. Because I, quite frankly, am not in the mood to build anything this big. I don't really like building giant craft. I'm not that kind of builder. I like small to medium-sized craft. More medium-sized craft, actually, because it's the right combination of accomplish whatever objective you want, and also is not a real headache. But yeah, so this is an inspiration. So I just want to make a big Bernie battleship, and of course we'll throw it against the Davidos, and it probably won't win, because while I will be looking at this thing and taking inspiration from it and bearing this thing in mind, if my ship, like, beats this, it'll be an absolute miracle, because I guarantee you it won't be this big. Because I don't want to build that big. I don't enjoy building things this big. The Drakensang is about the limit of, like, how big I actually want to do anything. Speaking of the Drakensang, let's turn you off, and let's see if my CPU actually breaks when I load in Draki. Let's actually go here. This is, where was it? Prototypes? Drakensang Mark III, actually. So Drakensang Mark III was actually coming along pretty nicely. But there's a problem here. She's essentially... Oh my goodness, the lag. Oh, this could be bad. Right. So, I was shuffling her turrets around. She's still long. She's longer than, hang on. We need to ease the burden on our poor PC right now. So Draki Mark III was actually coming along decently well. I was, messing around with her a lot, adding more propellers here and there, redoing the turrets, and just generally making things better all around. But the thing is, the update has effectively rendered her obsolete for one very important reason: fire. Draki, in order to save on material costs, her... I don't know what exactly you would call this. The bow and stern is wood. It is completely wood. And wood is quite literally... In fact, it's 3 layers of wood. I wonder what I was thinking. That seems like overkill. But yeah, so she's very vulnerable to fire, because she'll just lose so much hit points due to be setting fire. And guess what? The Davidos has a lot of incendiary weaponry. She has AP incendiary shells, for crying out loud, for I think both her crams and her APS. So that's a bit of an issue. And also, if we zoom out here, the layout of her engines is also not conducive to fire, because those of you who have read the patch notes or seen the videos I've done on the big fire update, fuel boxes, so fuel storage and steam boilers create fires when they're destroyed. So when you stack them all together like this, you are creating a huge fire risk. So if this compartment gets breached for whatever reason, and let me just demonstrate that right now. Let's see, the compartment is here. Let's just have a big explosion right here that, oh, I don't know, let's say that a massive shell from, whatchamacallit, from the Davidos has come through here, and it's hit here. Do you hear that sizzling sound? Right, so that is underwater for now, but imagine if that happened above water. So if we do this, we're gonna set the Drakenslang off on a merry voyage over there. You go sit there, and let us zoom in and try that again. Bluey? Yeah, so, if we go here, we'll see the fires. This is a decently big fire. And, yeah, you'll see the fuel keeps jumping up because there's an alloy in here, and it's completely gutted, the fuel tank, so to speak. Admittedly, most of that damage was the explosion itself, but, yeah, the fire made things even worse. So I am declaring the Drakenslang, and it's unfortunate because I put a lot of love in this, but I don't feel like shuffling the internals around to this thing even more. I've learned more since building the Drakenslang originally, although this is... looking at it now, I do want to build more of it, because she's so damn fast and pretty. I love her. But no. We're going to build a new battleship, and, it probably is going to end up being bigger than the Drakenslang, but the main thing I want to do is test a design that I keep messing around with, which is basically focusing almost completely on as much guns as possible. So, it is not to be named... Well, there's two objectives here, and bonus objectives to go with it. The first objective is to just make a fun, burny battleship with a lot of guns on it, so as much as possible the thing is going to set things on fire. The other thing it's going to do is... What was the other thing it was going to do? Huh, there were two objectives and I've just forgotten them. The other thing is have fun, don't worry about it too much. Bonus objective, if it can beat the Drakenslang, it almost certainly will. And if it can at least put a decent dent in the Davidos, I'll be happy. If it can drop the Davidos below... Oh, I don't know. We'll figure out the exact percentage of, like, health, like, later. But if it can drop the Davidos below a certain percentage of health, I will be happy, because it's almost certainly going to be smaller and cheaper than the Davidos. So, let spawn in the Davidos, just to show off how much smaller my design is going to be, because, again, the idea is not to beat it, the idea is to learn from it. Big distinction, because, frankly, like, here's the thing, the Stellarian is what I'm talking about when I talk about what Isuzu gets up to. Like, From the Depths can't even load in how expensive this is. This is, yeah, 30 million materials and 325,000 blocks, so that is what the Davidos is meant to counter, and even then it takes like 2 Davidos to take on the Stellarian, so yeah, this is a weight class of ship that I actually am not interested in building, really, because it's just too much, and I hate a laggy fight. Salute to Isuzu and Gmodism for, like, even attempting such things. You can't see it, but I'm saluting. But I like to I like to be a little bit more restrained in my designs. And certainly not just because I don't think I can build something like that. I possibly could, I don't know, but I don't feel like it. I've just gotten over a building funk. Anyway, so let us have the... Basically, the difference between the Stellarian and the Davidos, I want to make my ship that to the Davidos, if that makes sense. So, smaller underdog, let's see if we can put a dent in it at the very least. This takes so long to load in because it's so big and fat. Deacon's Christmas, Davidos. Probably shouldn't even load it in. Right. There you are, big girl. Laggy, 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 and I'm not even sure. It's probably the CPU struggling, which is impressive because, well, my CPU is pretty good. Alright, so here's the Davidos, and here is my design, which is long and skinny. Well, the prototype. I might scrap this completely. I remember last time I did a Battleship Diary. That was back when I was making, what was it? Not the Stahl Slung, the Titan Slung, that was the one. And I built like 3 hulls for that thing, so nothing you're going to see here is final. This is what I've got so far. It's called, currently, the Risky Big Thing. And it's different from what I've done before, because it goes, like, really quite far. Hang on a minute. There we go. So here is the Risky Big Thing. It is... Already, before it has anything in it, it has, like, it's 51,000 blocks, so this is definitely going to be bigger than the Drakenslung. It's not as long, interestingly enough, and it actually is on a similar scale to the Davidos, really. I wasn't expecting that. So this is what we've got so far. The game is still paused for the benefit of frame rate, but also because this thing is just, well, like, it's helpful. So currently, it's going to be similar to the Drakenslang in a lot of ways in that it is going to be as fast as humanly possible, and that is because of, well, crams. Once you get to this scale, crams are really dangerous, and there's really only 2 ways to deal with them. It is to have diff Seawiz, which... Does the Davidos have a lot of it? This is this diff Seawiz on the Davidos, actually, so... yeah, it does that a lot. Or is it? Or is it somewhere else? I forget where exactly it... Oh, no, here it is. Here it is. It's the same thing that's on the Gimlet. So, this is one of the best ways to deal with crams, and the other way is be too fast for them to hit you. So, yeah, that is, that's how we're planning to do it with that for the most part. It is almost certainly going to disappear. This is an untested hull design. I want to muck around with this. You'll notice it's very tall, and it's most of the height is barbettes, actually. So... The armor is not spectacular. It's a layer of metal, layer of heavy armor, layer of alloy, because this is supposed to be a big glass cannon. The idea is have so many guns and move fast enough to evade enough stuff that you can make delicious burning happen and just, you know, you carry on from there. So, if I unpause the game, we have spectacular lag, and I should probably, for the safety of not turning my PC into a fire hazard, I should pull the Davidos out of play. Please go away for a second. You are beautiful and we love you, but you need to go now. So yeah, we've got this thing. It only barely floats because of, Actually, hang on, how do you do this again? There we go. So front back is... There we go. So the armor scheme is similar to what I've done before. It's not amazing, it's just alternating layers of alloy and metal to be floaty and tough. Beam slopes here because this is magnificent. And on the underside and on the deck, it actually has alloy poles because I'm getting very fond these days of using poles just for like above and top. This is actually something that the BBS 5th season does in its turrets, and it actually works really well. Those turrets are very, very strong. The superstructure is made of slopes, because we're taking a note here. This thing is going to be very compact in some areas, and very air-gappy in other ways. And it's got these little pillar things here just because I thought it looked cool. I'm trying to think of aesthetics ahead of time for once in my life. So yeah, right, let's do this. Cutting off, left, right is cutting above. There we go. So this is the internals now. There's nothing in here. Nothing in here whatsoever. It actually is like... Wow, the armor in between the turrets, I just realized, is extraordinarily thick, so... That's convenient. Hopefully that'll keep it alive a little bit. Like, the problem is that once you get to this scale of building, like, this, like, the guns on the Davidos in particular will absolutely tear through this. If this thing can beat the Gimli, actually, that'll be a nice bonus objective. But again, this is a kind of hull that I've messed with. I've never made a really complete ship with it. Or rather, I have, but at a smaller scale and only testing against stuff that's not too dangerous. So there is that. So yeah, so we've got lots of air gaps hither and thither that hopefully should be something like that. So, by the way, the idea is that the secondary guns are towards the ends of it because they're defensive, which means hopefully they get blown up last, and the more massive guns are towards the middle where there is actually more room for them. I actually might put outriggers on this thing because that could be a very good idea. And you'll notice here that one of the things I'm trying with this is I'm thinking, hang on, if you've got a necklace turret that's above the deck, you need to ensure that the armor on the barbette is at least as thick as the hull armor that's protecting the rest of the gun, right? So, as you can see, that's pretty much... Hang on, you can't see it just yet. We need to turn that off. Turn that off, and... below. So, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. So you see here. Whee! Actually, that is horrible to look at, so there we go. You will see here that the armor of the barbette is pretty much identical to the armor of the hull just below it. This is actually pretty thin armor, considering, but again, the whole idea is that this thing has massive guns with a lot of redundancy, and that if only half the guns survive, great, that's still a hell of a lot of guns. It's something that I know is a very good idea, but I keep failing to put into practice. Like, there's some of my favorite things that I've built tend not to do that, or at least they don't do that enough. So yeah, we're going to really focus on that. And what else will this thing have? I don't know. But I do want to... Hang on a minute. Let's do that. Yeah, this thing has got a good frame rate right now, but just wait. And this thing does roll over eventually, unfortunately, because it is quite top-heavy, despite my best efforts. Like, yep, you can see there. It even has, like, lead in these things holding the hydrofoils, and yes, there's rubber on there, because I always assume that the thing is going to beach itself eventually. So, this is the prop test. This is not what we're going to go with. Moving on, this just has some engines bolted into it. What the hell is this? Okay, hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Alright, that was a very important phone call. I'm glad I answered that. Now I have to cut out all the editing. Cut out all the editing, cut out all the silence. Or maybe I won't. Ha ha ha. This is awkward. I think I was done talking about this thing anyway. Oh no, I wasn't. This thing already goes pretty fast, even with just the 4 props underneath it, like so. So the whole idea is that this is going to still be pretty similar to the Drakensang, in that it uses hydrofoils to go fast, fast, fast. And it can almost, but not quite, get out of the water just from the sunken position already. And it, by the way, it's going to have a lot more propellers than this, that's the idea. I have not left a lot of room for engines in here, unfortunately. So yeah, already 40 meters per second, and yeah. Looking forward to building this. This is going to be it's going to be a big fun thing. Will it beat the Davidos? Almost certainly not. It's as long as the Davidos. Well, pretty much. But can it beat her? I don't think so. We're making this for fun. We're making this for science. Yeah, it could be a complete failure, but if it's a complete failure, it should at least be a hilarious one. So, on that merry note, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps. And there's fun perks in it for you. Thank you to all my current supporters, and I will see you next time in From the Depths, Battleship Diary. Feels good to be doing one of these again, actually. Farewell!